Support for Serial Mom comes from the Pony Express. More than 7 million frontiersmen use the Pony Express to send postcards, dysentery, and high fives. But mostly dysentery. Pony Express. Send letters on a very small horse.
Previously on Serial.
Mom.
The senseless killing last night of a Towson couple, Ralph and Betty Sterner, brings to a total of 4 murders police feel may have been committed by Baltimore's first serial killer.
Beverly, it's me, Ted Bundy. It's late at night, 6 days before my execution, and it's lonely here on death row.
Ooh, Franklin Mint.
Eugene, it's Ralph Sterner. I've got a dental emergency here. I mean, this goddamn tooth is killing me.
Nightmare on Calverton Courts.
The Maryland teacher massacre.
It's not funny, son.
Dottie Hinkle was right. It is Beverly Sutphin. I tell you, I saw blood right there on the bottom of her shoes.
Dr. Sutphin, is your wife mental?
This is a Global Tel-Link prepaid call from...
I'm a divorced woman. Please help me.
An inmate at a Maryland Correctional Facility. This call will be recorded and monitored.
Well, I feel that Beverly Sutphin is an innocent woman, wrongly accused. A normal housewife trapped in the nightmare of circumstantial evidence.
That nightmare seemingly ended 20 years ago. The voice you just heard was Suzanne Summers, senior legal correspondent for the Home Shopping Network, speaking from the Baltimore trial of one Beverly Sutphin, the so-called serial mom. Suzanne knew better than most that when a situation looks really bad, it often turns out to be a hilarious misunderstanding. And things looked really bad for Beverly. The middle-aged homemaker, birdwatcher, and MILF of 2 stood accused of 6 grisly murders over 3 days in May of 1994. Along with the rest of the country at the time, I was glued to the television, spellbound by the slow-speed chase, the trial that became a media circus, and finally, the shocking acquittal. And I remember Beverly's case, too. Back then, I was working as a male chimp just outside Baltimore, but in the early 2000s, I took a lot of cat antidepressants and forgot all about the serial mom. Then, one night, about a year ago, I got a call from a hysterical woman.
You may speak.
I've had my number changed twice already, and I put 2 and 2 together. It was her, Beverly Sutphin. Pussy, that's what she said to me. Pussy Willow.
Naturally, I hung up on her. But she kept calling.
But I heard her voice. It's her!
And calling.
I did not break your egg. She did.
Finally, when no one was on Grindr looking for donkey boxing, I was lonesome enough to hear her out.
Didn't I just say fuck you?
Oh, sorry, is this a bad time?
Who is this?
You called me. Are you having another one of your mental fits?
Yes, I am. I'm sorry, Mrs. Wilson, but this is driving me crazy.
The thing that was driving her crazy would change everything I thought I never knew about what I ever thought I'd never know to ask. From This Mumbling Life in your local Pennysaver, this is Serial Mom, one stupid story told week by week. I'm Chai Ben Octothorpe. So the screech you heard on the other end of that phone call belongs to a woman who calls herself Dottie Hinkle. Dottie was a star witness for the prosecution in the serial mom murder trial. Since I began my investigation, I've been sent several anonymous reports claiming that Dottie Hinkle has a pussy face, but I wasn't able to get her doctor to confirm it. So, like almost everything I'm telling you, you can disregard that information. Off the record, Dottie told me that I'm the only person she can really trust. You see, Dottie is incarcerated. She's currently serving 73,000 consecutive 5-day sentences in a Baltimore County jail. She lives in a 6-foot by 6-foot concrete cell, eating a diet consisting solely of funfetti frosting, and, well, it's been that way ever since she testified against Beverly Sutphin. How can this be? Who are these people? What really happened to the egg? It just doesn't add up. Okay, so let's take a step back and ask the real question here. What am I talking about? I invite you to come with me on a journey through time. If it makes you feel more comfortable, feel free to put on a pair of wide and roomy trousers. Close your eyes as we travel back to Monday, October 4th, 1994. But be mindful along our time voyage that you must not breed with any of your blood relatives. Should you insist on mating with a younger version of yourself, well, I won't try and stop you. We, in our future wisdom, know that these urges are a natural and healthy part of the dying process. Now, with that out of the way, join me as we peer down from the top of the courtroom like terrifying Victorian Christmas ghosts. From here, we see prosecutor Timothy Naselrod begin his opening arguments.
This defendant, Beverly Sutphin, is a woman evil to the core. A rotten apple, if you will, who beyond any reasonable doubt killed 6 innocent people with a speeding car, a fire poker, a pair of scissors, a toppled air conditioner, the lethal flames from an aerosol can, and yes, even a leg of lamb. This Beverly Sutphin, she is not a woman. She is a monster.
I asked him to clarify what he meant by monster. Did he mean an awesome monster like Grover, sometimes Godzilla, or Pikachu? Or was he going for a lousy monster like Gorn, other times Godzilla, or the Funky Frankenstein? Naselrod didn't respond, perhaps because I doodled the question in the margins of my legal pad and never put it to him using human words. So instead, I put this question to you. Could a woman who, by all accounts, is as corny as Kansas in August commit so many badass crimes? I mean, she recycles, for Christ's sake. Here's Beverly speaking as guest of honor at the 1992 Garbage Man's Ball.
Oh, I have told her and told her. It takes 90 to 100 years for a tin can to decompose.
You can hear how passionate she is, right? But there's something about her timeline that just feels off. I can't get around the feeling that it takes way longer than 100 years for tin to decompose. Somebody's lying, but is it Beverly or the big tin cartel? I searched high and low for a tin can to test Beverly's claim, but the town goat kept eating them. Back at the trial, the witnesses for the prosecution included Dottie Hinkle, Beverly's paranoid neighbor, and, as far as she knew, close friend.
Fuck you too, you whore.
Luann Hodges, a teenage burnout who was struck speechless by her recent encounter with a Sonic the Hedgehog.
Look, it was just blue. You know, like blue.
There's Detective Gracie, who responded poorly to my request for an investigative snuggle.
I am a married man. I hope they give you the gas chamber.
And Rosemary Ackerman, another one of Beverly's neighbors, whose magazines had been cut up to construct threatening notes to Dottie Hinkle, whose fire poker was used to impale Carl Pageant, whose scissors were used to stab Betty Sterner, and who does not recycle.
I don't have room in my kitchen.
Mrs. Ackerman, please get out of the studio.
It was gore.
The prosecution's surprise witness, we'll call him Mr. P for reasons you'll understand in a moment, was the only one who actually claimed to have witnessed Beverly at the scene of the crime with a murder weapon. As luck would have it, I bumped into him at our regular truck stop last week. Here's what he told me.
There was a lady in the men's room, I swear. A pretty little lady in the stall right next to me.
The reason I'm protecting Marvin A. Pickles' identity is because he's a notorious cockhound, widely regarded as a freaky pervert. From his vantage point at a glory hole in the men's room stall at the Edmondson Antique Traders Mart, he claims to have witnessed Beverly wielding a weapon with +1 piercing damage.
Mr. Pickles, were you in the men's room at the Antique Trade Mart on Saturday, May 15th?
Yes, I was.
Moments later, 22-year-old Carl Pageant, who'd been stepping out on Beverly Sutphin's daughter, Misty, was found dead at a urinal. Carl was the victim of a swirly and, perhaps not insignificantly, missing a liver. My producer and I spent weeks in the bathroom stall trying to corroborate Marvin's story, but all we got for our efforts was a tummy ache and pink eye. For what it's worth, Mr. P recanted his sworn affidavit while on the stand, bringing to light shocking allegations of police coercion.
Did you see anyone in the booth next to you?
Excuse me.
Mr. Pickles, did you see anyone in the booth next to you?
I just said what you told me to.
Perjury is a serious offense, Mr. Pickles.
Some have speculated that during questioning, Beverly Sutphin communicated with Mr. P using the most erotic form of Morse code, flapping her legs to prompt his responses. Others suggest that Beverly was merely using the Thigh Master, generously provided by Suzanne Summers. And then there are a few, maybe myself included, who wonder if Beverly's vagina had simply overheated.
I made it all up. I've never seen Beverly Sutphin in my life.
You'll pay for this, Marvin Pickles.
Whatever caused his change of heart, Mr. P's testimony dealt a final, toothy blow to the state's case. Few were surprised when the jury handed down their verdict.
We find the defendant not guilty of all charges.
Beverly was a free woman. But no more than a few minutes after court had adjourned, juror number 8 was found dead in a payphone vestibule inside the courthouse. I was going to make a joke about whether or not I could verify that the payphone actually existed, but that seems disrespectful to real people and real tragedy, so instead of that, here's the sound of a fart. I can't figure out if the killing in the courthouse was linked to the other murders. I mean, it seems like it would have to be, right? But then, I also can't rule out the mummy's curse. But now, my poppets, let us away from this nasty business. Step into the folds of my robe as we warp time and space to return to the present day. To date, the 7 murders connected to the serial mom case remain unsolved. No one has been brought to justice, but there is one woman who's been in jail ever since the trial. Next time on Serial Mom, the deal with Dottie.
Cocksucker! You lousy pig fucker! You bitch! You ugly whore!
This week I'd like to thank my producer Julie Brownback, the Edmondson Antique Traders Mart for all the trade, the Illustrious Garbage Man's Historical Archive, the Suzanne Summers Estate, the John D. and Catherine T. Home for Wayward Spirits, and as always our co-founder, Ms. Tori Amos. Why, just the other day, Tori was interviewing Beetlejuice, and she asked him,
"Hello, Mr. Zebra, can I have your sweater?"
See, his suit is stripy, like a zebra. If you enjoy Serial Mom, Pubic Radio International recommends Banana Hammock, travel advice for homosexualists and their mothers. And you can follow us on Twitter at Serial Momcast, where we tweet pictures of rabbits kissing.